Chapter 1. The Ghost Shift. The city of Boston lay wrapped in the haze of a cold spring night. March 17th had just surrendered to the early hours of the 18th, and the remnants of St. Patrick's Day celebrations still echoed faintly through the Back Bay streets. Distant whoops, the clink of bottles, a siren whining through Beacon Hill. But within the thick stone walls of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, all was quiet. Too quiet. Rick Abath sat slouched behind the museum's aging security desk, lit only by the dim glow of green monitor lights and an overhead bulb that flickered with a nervous hum. The surveillance screens showed black and white feeds from grainy security cameras, most of them trained on priceless artwork. Vermeer severed the gas sketches of a Rembrandt seascape. The static popped every few seconds, giving the ancient electronics a ghostly pulse. He yawned, then took another sip of lukewarm coffee from a Red Sox travel mug. His headphones were in, one earbud dangling, the other stuffed in his left ear, murmuring the spiraling guitar solo of the Grateful Dead's Eyes of the World. It helped him stay alert during the night shift, or at least make the silence feel less oppressive. At 23, Rick didn't exactly fit the mold of a high-security guard. Shoulder-length blonde hair tucked under a wool beanie, a faded army jacket, and a bored slouch that screamed disinterest. He wasn't here for the art. He was here for the paycheck and the lack of supervision. The museum was a quiet gig. Nothing ever happened until it did. "Yo, Rick," came a voice from the hallway. "You taking the next round?" It was Randy Heston, the second guard on duty, older, plumper, and far less inclined to wander the dim corridors. Rick gave a lazy wave without turning. "Gimme 10. Everything's calm." Randy grunted, half in approval, half in fatigue, and shuffled off. The floor creaked faintly beneath his steps, century-old wood bearing the weight of modern boredom. Rick leaned back and watched the monitors. The Dutch room, with its opulent red walls and golden frames, looked as still as a painting itself. The empty halls beyond didn't move. Just marble, oil, and silence. He glanced at the small clock on the security panel. 1:21 a.m. The buzz of the intercom jolted him from his daze. BZZZT. He blinked, leaned forward, and peered at the exterior feed on monitor 3. Two uniformed Boston police officers stood outside the Palace Road entrance, framed in the dull amber glow of the street lamp. Rick furrowed his brow. Cops. They looked legit. Badges, hats, utility belts, one of them holding what looked like a radio. But there hadn't been a call. No alarms. No radio chatter. And they hadn't phoned ahead. He pressed the intercom button. "Can I help you, officers?" The taller of the two stepped closer to the speaker. "Evening. We got a report of a disturbance inside. You boys see or hear anything unusual tonight?" Rick glanced at the monitors again. Everything looked normal. The only movement was Randy wandering past the blue room, scratching his neck. "We didn't get any alerts," Rick said. "Who reported it?" "A civilian," the cop replied smoothly. "Sounded like they saw someone jump the fence earlier. We're just here to check it out. Mind letting us in?" Rick hesitated. His thumb hovered over the door release. They looked the part, standard issue blues, well-worn boots. But something was off. The taller one was too calm. The way he stood, feet planted slightly apart, chin up, not like someone waiting for permission, but someone expecting to be obeyed. "Hold on a sec," Rick muttered. He switched off the intercom and glanced toward the hallway. No sign of Randy. No second opinion. Technically, he wasn't supposed to admit anyone without clearance. But they were cops, right? He buzzed them in.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
The lock clicked, and the heavy door creaked open. The two officers stepped inside briskly, boots thudding softly against the tile. The taller one gave Rick a polite nod and tugged off his cap. "Appreciate it," he said. Rick noticed then his badge number wasn't visible. His belt was bulkier than standard, and the shorter one, walking behind, kept his right hand low, hovering near his jacket pocket. "You Rick a bath?" the tall one asked. Rick nodded slowly. "We're going to need you to step away from the desk," the man said. "Standard procedure for securing a site." Rick blinked. "Wait, what? I thought you were just—" "Step away, please." Before Rick could react, the shorter man lunged forward, yanking his arms behind his back. Steel bit into his wrists. "What the hell?" H-E-Y. Handcuffs clicked shut. He twisted, but it was too late. The tall one pulled duct tape from his coat and slapped it over Rick's mouth. The smell of adhesive and latex hit his nose hard. He was shoved forward, stumbling away from the desk. Out came a muffled cry from the hallway. "Randy!" The second guard stepped into view and froze. His eyes went wide. "Who?" The shorter thief turned, gun drawn in a heartbeat. "Hands where I can see him. Down on your knees. Now." Rick tried to scream through the tape. Randy hesitated a second too long and got cracked across the temple with the butt of the gun. He dropped like a sack of bricks. Within 60 seconds, both guards were gagged, handcuffed, and hauled down into the basement workshop. The thieves moved with military precision. Not frantic, not messy. Smooth, practiced, cold. The tall one looked at Rick as he tightened the duct tape around his ankles. "Relax. We're not here to hurt you. You'll be free in a few hours. Just stay put, all right?" Rick's heart thundered in his chest. His fingers were going numb. The tall man tilted his head, almost sympathetically. "Wrong place, wrong time, Rick." They left him in the dark, lying on the concrete floor beside Randy's dazed body. The door shut behind them. Back upstairs, the museum, frozen in a time capsule of oil and marble, opened itself to invaders. The thieves moved quickly, bypassing motion sensors and choosing their targets with surgical precision. In the Dutch room, they approached the storm on the Sea of Galilee, Rembrandt's only known seascape. One of the men took out a sharp blade and sliced it cleanly from its frame. Then the Vermeer, the concert, followed. They ignored more famous pieces, walking past Titian and Botticelli without a glance. Instead, they moved for the 5 Degas sketches in the short gallery. Small, easy to carry. At one point, they paused at a Chinese bronze gu from the Shang dynasty, almost 3,000 years old. Into the bag it went. Downstairs, Rick could hear nothing but the pounding of his own heart and the creak of old wood above him. The faintest echo of footsteps, a whisper of movement, then silence again. They took Chez Tortoni by Manet from sidewall. Another frame was smashed, glass cracking like gunfire in the silent gallery. Gold leaf rained to the carpet. By 2:13 a.m., the heist was complete. The thieves left the museum as calmly as they had entered, stepping back out into the cold Boston night. Artwork stuffed in large black duffels, faces untouched by panic. They vanished into history. It wasn't until nearly 6:30 a.m. that police arrived, called by the morning security team after no one answered the buzzer. By then, Rick and Randy had been trapped for over 4 hours in the basement. Duct tape had rubbed raw spots on their wrists. The air was stale and freezing. When officers found them and removed the tape, Rick couldn't speak at first. His mouth was numb, his throat dry. He could only point upward toward the galleries above and whisper. They weren't real cops. The halls of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum were now a crime scene, but the real crime had already vanished.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 2, The Aftermath. By the time the first rays of sunlight scraped across the red brick facade of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, the chaos had already taken root. Sirens echoed off the historic Fenway District buildings. bouncing between brownstones and ivy-covered dorms. The museum, once a sanctuary of silence and art, now bristled with activity. Blue uniforms clustered at the entrance. Crime scene tape flapped in the cold wind. Media vans lined the curb like vultures circling a carcass. Special Agent Marcus Kane stepped out of an unmarked sedan and paused at the sidewalk. 35, lean and sharp-eyed, Kane had the calm edge of a man used to unraveling impossible puzzles. But even he wasn't prepared for this. A heist, a real one, not a smash and grab or petty gallery burglary, but a fully orchestrated professional theft from one of the most secure private museums in the United States. Agent Kane, a uniformed officer, called out. "Yeah, they're expecting you inside." Kane nodded, stepping into the chaos. The museum's courtyard, once a breathtaking display of Roman columns and fragrant orchids, now felt like the staging ground for war. Forensics techs moved like ghosts through the galleries, snapping photos, placing markers, and dusting frames for prints. Inside the Dutch room, the damage was surgical, precise, chilling. Empty frames hung like mausoleums. The edges of some were splintered. Bits of canvas and gold leaf littered the Persian rug. Kane stood before the empty space that once held Rembrandt's Storm on the Sea of Galilee. He let out a slow breath. "You ever see anything like this?" someone asked. He turned to face a museum official, Harold Fenton, interim director, eyes sunken, tie askew. His hands trembled slightly. "No," Kane said honestly, "and I've seen a lot." He knelt beside the frame. No blood, no signs of struggle, just the absence, the brutal void where beauty used to live. "Do we know what was taken?" Fenton passed over a typed list with trembling fingers. Kane read aloud. Rembrandt, Vermeer, Manet, 5 Degas sketches, a Chinese bronze beaker, a Napoleonic eagle finial. "Yes," Fenton said hoarsely. It was mounted to a flagstaff in the gallery. They snapped it off. For no reason we can tell. Everything else untouched. Botticelli, Raphael, Michelangelo's sketches. All still here. Kane looked up. So either they didn't know what they were doing, or they knew exactly what they wanted. Fenton didn't answer. He didn't need to.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Kane left the gallery and made his way toward the security station, where 2 EMTs were tending to the shaken night guards. Rick Abath sat hunched beneath a thermal blanket, eyes bloodshot, cradling a paper cup of tea like it was his last lifeline. The other guard, Randy, was being examined for a concussion. Kane crouched beside Rick. "I'm Special Agent Marcus Kane, FBI Art Crimes. Mind if I ask you a few questions?" Rick looked up slowly. His voice was low, hoarse. They were dressed like cops. "I know. Tell me what happened." Rick recounted the story in fragments. The buzz, the uniforms, the lie about a disturbance call, his hesitation, the moment his gut told him not to, but he buzzed them in any way. "I thought they were real," he said. "Everything looked legit. Did you ask for ID?" "They had badges." "Did you call dispatch?" Rick looked away. "No." Kane nodded. "All right." He stood and turned to the tech team reviewing the surveillance footage. A CRT monitor showed a fuzzy black and white image of the 2 imposters standing at the employee entrance. Rewind. Freeze it there. The frame showed the taller one's badge glinting off the porch light. Zoom in. It was subtle, but the shield wasn't standard BPD issue. Too rounded. No serial number. "They weren't cops," Kane said quietly. "They just dressed like ones." "Could have been movie props," said a technician. "Or old issue uniforms from a surplus store." "Either way," Kane muttered, "they fooled everyone." From across the room, a uniformed officer approached. "Agent Kane, We recovered the VHS tapes. Some of the footage is scrambled. Looks like the internal recorder was looped or messed with. Bring it to my office. I want it digitized. As the officer left, Kane turned back to Rick. One last thing. Before they tied you up, did they say anything? Rick hesitated. Yeah. What? The words came back to him with a chill. Wrong place, wrong time, Rick. Kane stared at him. They used your name? Rick nodded. Yeah. That landed like a punch. They knew who you were, Kane said, standing. This wasn't random. It was personal. He looked up at the empty frames again, and then he whispered to himself, someone spent years planning this.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 3. The Underground Auction. 3 weeks after the Gardner Museum heist, in a place where clocks had no faces and names were traded like poker chips, the missing art resurfaced. Not in Boston, not even in the U.S., but in the stale, smoky underbelly of the Geneva Freeport. The warehouse complex on the outskirts of the Swiss city resembled nothing so much as a fortress disguised as a shipping hub. On paper, it was storage. In reality, it was a vault for the world's wealthiest collectors, some of whom had little concern about provenance or legality. Inside, amid crates marked with false manifests and security tighter than most banks, an exclusive gathering unfolded. No invitations, no paper trails, only whispers, encrypted signals, and encrypted payments routed through shell accounts in Luxembourg, Malta, and the Caymans. The room was dim, just enough lighting to cast everything in shades of gray. A long table stretched the length of the chamber, each seat filled with a buyer or their proxy. No names, only aliases: the Commodore, La Dame Noire, the Orphan, Drive S, and others who didn't even bother with monikers. All wore masks, some carnival, some military, one a porcelain cat. A man known only as Vega stood at the head of the table. Trim, pale, always in a three-piece suit that looked dipped in oil. His voice, when it came, was gentle and terrifying. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, gesturing behind him, tonight's offerings are rare. What kind? History stolen from time itself. A black curtain drew back to reveal an armored case. Inside, Rembrandt's The Storm on the Sea of Galilee. There was a breathless silence. Preserved, Vega continued. Undamaged. Removed under expert conditions. Frame left intact. Estimated insurance value, 100 million US dollars. A murmur rose among the buyers. He moved down the line, unveiling the concert by Vermeer, the 5 Degas sketches, Chez Tortoni by Manet, and finally, almost comically, the golden Napoleonic eagle finial. Taken from the Gardner Museum on the 18th of March, Vega said, a ghost of smile on his lips. Never recovered, never offered for sale. Until now. One of the masked buyers leaned forward. Her voice was filtered through a vocal modulator, sharp and mechanical. Too risky. Every agency in the world is looking for those pieces. They're radioactive. Vega didn't flinch. And yet, you're all here. What? Another voice. Because no one dares to destroy history. Not even the authorities.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
He let the silence linger, then continued. These works will never see a public wall again. But in the right hands, they are more than priceless. They are power. A statement. Ownership of something the world believes lost. Bidding began, not in dollars, but in gold kilograms, diamonds, black market arms, and encrypted real estate deeds in Montenegro. The Rembrandt alone triggered a three-way bidding war between Ukrainian oligarch's daughter, a Brazilian cartel proxy, and a former Saudi intelligence officer with a taste for naval paintings. And then, without warning, the room's atmosphere shifted. The lights flickered once, twice. Vigo's eyes narrowed. He turned slightly, muttering something into a lapel mic. In the shadows behind the armored case, a figure moved. A whisper crackled in someone's earpiece. "We've been breached." A flash. Then the room erupted. A concussion grenade detonated just outside the entrance, followed by the thunderous boom of a steel door torn from its hinges. Armed silhouettes stormed the room, their visors glowing faint green in the darkness, weapons raised, precision perfect. "Interpol! Down! Now!" Buyers leapt from their seats, masks flying. Two tried to flee through a service corridor and were tackled to the ground. One drew a sidearm. Stupid move. He was downed with a taser before his gun cleared the holster. Vigo, somehow, was already gone. The Rembrandt case sat empty, cracked. In the chaos, someone had stolen it again. 10 hours later, back in Boston, Agent Marcus Kane slammed a case, file shut in frustration. His office was a clutter of maps, red string, museum schematics, and blown-up security footage. You're telling me Interpol raided a black market art auction, but the centerpiece, Rembrandt, was gone before they got there? He snapped. His liaison from Europol, a composed analyst named Elise Renault, sipped her espresso without blinking. Vigo escaped, and someone walked away with the Rembrandt in the middle of the raid. A ghost within ghosts. "So it's still out there," Kane muttered, "and whoever has it probably has the rest." Elise slid a dossier across the table. "We believe the thief wasn't part of the original heist. Vigo was trying to sell it off, liquidate quickly, but someone beat him to it." Kane opened the file. A blurry photo, a silhouette barely visible among the chaos. Tall, gloved, moving with unnatural ease. "What's this?" he asked. Interpol's thermal cams caught him. "We call him Specter. No name, no known affiliation. Could be freelance. Could be something worse." Kane stared at the image. A ghost within ghosts. This wasn't just about art anymore. This was about a war beneath the surface. Silent, invisible, and centuries in the making. And Kane had just been pulled into its center.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 4, Specter's Trail. Marcus Kane sat alone in his office long after sunset, his fingers drumming against the armrest of his chair as the blurred image of the elusive thief, codenamed Specter, glowed faintly on the projection screen. He'd seen hundreds of faces in his time working the FBI's art crime division, but never one that didn't exist. No alias, no facial recognition hits, no voice samples, no affiliations. Specter wasn't just careful, he was invisible. But the ghost had left something behind, and Kane knew that even the most disciplined operators made mistakes. He leaned forward and clicked through the Interpol footage frame by frame. Smoke, gunfire, buyers scattering like rats. And there, in one frozen second, the Specter's glove brushing the corner of a Rembrandt case. A flash of something. Not a fingerprint, not even a tool, but a reflection. A shard of glass on the floor had caught it. The thief's sleeve, black tactical fabric with a silver insignia stitched on the seam. Kane zoomed in, heart thumping. It was almost invisible, but unmistakably a logo. A white chess knight. Across the Atlantic, in a remote farmhouse nestled in the fog-drenched countryside of Wales, the man known as Specter stripped off his gear. His real name was unknown even to his allies. To some, he was a disgraced MI6 asset. To others, a vigilante broker who dealt only in stolen history. To Specter himself, he was simply a man with a code: retrieve what should never be sold. He unzipped a hidden compartment in his duffel bag and carefully removed the storm on the Sea of Galilee. It was wrapped in acid-free cloth, humidity-sealed, and padded with shock-absorbing foam. He placed it on a wide table already bearing 6 other pieces, all stolen in the Gardner heist.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
All intact, all preserved. He didn't steal to sell. He stole to hide them for the wrong hands. The pieces were safe here, for now, but his work wasn't done. A small tablet buzzed beside him. Encrypted signal. Incoming call. He tapped the screen. A voice filtered through, modulated and slow. "You shouldn't have taken the Rembrandt." Specter said nothing. "You disrupted the auction." Vega is furious. Again, silence. "Do you understand what you started?" The voice pressed. Specter finally spoke, voice low and calm. Vega was going to sell it to a man who funds private armies in the Congo. "I'm not letting masterpieces become bargaining chips for blood money." A pause, then "Prepare for war." The line went dead. Specter looked at the painting. He knew what he had done. He knew who he had crossed. But he also knew the Gardner theft hadn't been about money. Not really. Someone had commissioned that heist for a reason, and it wasn't resale. A mystery deeper than the missing art. And now, the clock was ticking. In Boston, Kane pushed a white knight chess piece across a board on his desk. He'd traced the logo to an off-books private intelligence group, once rumored to exist in Cold War Europe. Disbanded, black-bagged, erased. Unless, of course, one of them went rogue. He stood up and grabbed his coat. Time to visit someone who knew what the intelligence world buried. A man in a prison cell who'd once whispered a strange phrase during a sting operation years ago. The Knights are still on the board, and they don't play fair.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 5: Knights and Shadows. MCI Cedar Junction wasn't built for comfort. It was built to forget. A concrete relic buried 20 miles outside of Boston, it held a special wing for those with secrets too dangerous for daylight. Ex-intelligence, rogue operators, foreign assets turned liabilities. Agent Marcus Kane stepped through the metal detector as the correctional officer buzzed him through the final gate. He carried no weapons, no notepad, just a face that said he knew too much, and a badge that meant he might someday know more. The inmate waited at a table inside interview room 4, wrists cuffed, eyes gleaming with amusement. "Agent Kane," he said, smiling. "You finally came back." "Henry Laska," Kane replied flatly. "You're still alive. I told you, they'd need a hell of a lot more than prison to kill me." Laska had once been a CIA field strategist, a master manipulator fluent in 6 languages and twice as many dead drops. He vanished in '98, reappeared in a Panama Bank scandal in 2003, and was caught fencing a Fabergé egg through a fake charity in the Baltics. Since then, he'd been behind bars, but not without influence. Kane sat across from him and dropped a printed photo on the table. The grainy image of Specter. Laska's eyes sharpened. "Oh," he murmured. "That one. You know him?" Kane asked. "I know the insignia," Laska said, tracing the faint chest knight stitched on the figure's arm. "It belongs to a cell buried deep in NATO war games back in the 80s. A private ghost unit. Codename Kaisa, named after the goddess of chess." "Why were they created?" Laska leaned in, his voice dropping. "They were a contingency, meant to retrieve or eliminate any sensitive object, artifacts, people, technologies that posed geopolitical risk. Funded by dark budgets, sanctioned by no one." And Specter.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Laska's grin faded. If it is him, he was one of the best. Cold as the void, believed in preservation over possession. When the program collapsed after the Berlin Wall fell, most agents disappeared. But one stayed off-grid, took Kais's oath as gospel. What oath? History belongs to no one. Laska let the words hang in the air. They don't steal for wealth. They recover. Bury. Protect. Kane processed the information, gears spinning. So you're saying he's not our enemy? I'm saying, Laska said, he's playing a different game entirely. One with no board and no rules. Kane stood up. I want a list of anyone still alive who was part of Kaisa. Laska laughed softly. You won't find them, but they might find you. Kane turned to leave. One more thing, Laska called after him. If Specter's resurfaced, something's coming. Something bigger than stolen art. These heists, they're just the opening moves. Kane didn't look back, but he felt the chill settle into his spine. That night, Kane stood over a table in his apartment, surrounded by files. He began to pin together what no one else would, a map of thefts going back 20 years. Paintings, relics, manuscripts, all removed from both legitimate and black market hands. All hidden, no traces, no sales, a quiet war, a shadow collection. At the center, Specter. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. No caller ID. He hesitated, then answered. A voice, low, modulated, filled the line. You're closer than you should be, Agent Kane. Kane froze. Specter. Silence. Then, don't chase me. Chase what's behind me. Click. The line went dead. Kane slowly lowered the phone, eyes narrowing. Behind Specter? What the hell was coming?
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 6. The Next Move. Rain lashed the windows of the FBI's Boston field office, turning the city's skyline into a smear of silver and shadow. Marcus Kane stood in the operations center, staring at the evidence board that now consumed an entire wall. The Gardner heist was no longer a case. It was a doorway into something far older, far deeper. Across the room, Agent Lauren Vega approached, two steaming coffees in hand. You look like you've slept with your eyes open for 3 days, she said. Kane accepted the coffee, not smiling. You ever hear of Kaisa? Vega furrowed her brow. Like the goddess of chess. It was a NATO deep unit, he said. Ghosts sell. They were trained to extract cultural assets, stolen or endangered. Specter was one of them. He's not stealing art for money. He's saving it. From someone. She frowned. Saving it from who? That's what I intend to find out. He turned back to the board. The center held a high-resolution scan of the storm on the Sea of Galilee, taped beside stills from the Geneva Freeport auction. Around it, he'd connected red thread to dozens of thefts, some solved, most not. All pointed to a pattern. All pointed to a second player. A different thief. And then came the breakthrough. Lauren slid a tablet across the table. Interpol just flagged a shipment intercepted in Rotterdam. Came from a private collector in Istanbul. Contents were declared as antiquities. Let me guess, Kane said, scrolling through. Yep, she confirmed. Inside was one of the missing Degas sketches. The collector swears he bought it last week from a man known only as the broker. Middle-aged, Mediterranean accent. Hands like an art handler. Paid in untraceable diamonds. Kane froze.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
He'd heard that name before. The broker. Not a thief, but a dealer. A trafficker who moved stolen masterpieces like contraband. Unlike Vigo, who trafficked in high-dollar vanity, the broker curated chaos. Sold to clients who wanted power, not paintings. Kane pulled a dusty file from the bottom drawer of his cabinet. The broker had been whispered about for years, but never photographed, never caught. Some said he used old Vatican trade routes. Others said he was a ghost like Specter, but working for the other side. 2 players, Kane muttered. Specter takes art off the board. Broker puts it back into play. Vega leaned in. You think they know each other? I think they're at war. Thousands of miles away, beneath the cobblestone alleys of Naples, the broker descended into a private vault hidden behind a chapel wall. The chamber was narrow, high-ceilinged, with art stacked in temperature-controlled pods. No alarms, just silence and a trained ex-commando with an Israeli accent guarding the entrance. The broker lit a cigarette and stepped toward a crate just recently delivered. He pried it open gently. Inside, Chez Tortoni by Monet. He grinned. Finally, a phone buzzed. He answered with a single word. Yes. A voice on the other end, raspy, urgent. Vigo, you've got the Monet. What about the Rembrandt? Gone, the broker said. Taken. Your auction was foolish. Vigo hissed. Specter. Yes, the broker said, calmly puffing smoke. And now he's collecting the rest. He thinks he's winning, but he's just pushing us to reveal the final piece. Then we move now, Vigo snapped. No, the broker said, tapping the edge of the crate. We move him. Let him think he's ahead, while we prepare the real play. He hung up, turned toward the shadows behind him. You have a target, he said quietly. Boston. Kane. A figure stepped from the darkness. Female. Pale gray eyes. A long scar beneath her jaw. No name. Just another ghost. The broker smiled. Let's make our next move memorable.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 7. Blood and Canvas. The first bullet missed Kane's head by 3 inches. He hadn't heard it, only felt the shock wave as it tore through the air past his ear and punched a hole into the brick wall behind him. Kane dove sideways across the hood of his car, rolling hard and landing behind a trash bin on Tremont Street. Gunfire echoed again. 3 rounds, rapid succession. Controlled. Professional. Across the alley, he glimpsed a silhouette moving through the fog of a late Boston night. Graceful, fast, deliberate. This wasn't a mugging. This was a hit. His mind raced. Who knew where he'd be tonight? Only his partner, Vega, and the team at the bureau. This wasn't a coincidence. This was a message. Kane unholstered his Glock and peered over the edge of the bin. No more shots, just steam rising from the grates and the slow, taunting footfalls of someone circling. He switched positions and fired once, aiming low. Concrete sparked as the round ricocheted off a corner. A flash of movement. The shooter darted across an open patch. Female, lean, fast. A scar visible under her jaw in the moonlight. The broker's assassin. He ducked and sprinted for cover, ducking into the back entrance of a boarded-up jazz bar. Inside, everything reeked of mildew and rot. Light flickered through shattered stained glass. Footsteps followed. She was inside. He crouched behind the ruined bar and listened. She moved like a ghost. No wasted steps. Each creak on the floorboards was calculated. He breathed slow, silent, waited. Then, she leapt over the bar, blade flashing. He caught her midair with his forearm, and they crashed to the floor together, her knife slicing into his jacket but missing skin. She rolled on top of him, bringing her weight down the blade at his throat. Kane slammed his elbow into her temple. She staggered.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
He used the moment to slam her into a shelf, disarming her. But instead of resisting, she smiled, blood dripping from her mouth. You're getting close, she whispered. Then smoke. She activated a flash canister, and vanished through the back exit in the chaos. By the time Kane stumbled out into the alley, she was gone. Only the hiss of smoke and the faint trace of perfume lingered. Later that night, Kane's apartment was a fortress. Locks, tripwire sensors, even a gun on the table beside his laptop. Vega paced across the living room as he disinfected the cut across his shoulder. "You were nearly executed," she said. "This isn't about stolen art anymore." "No," Kane replied. "This is a game, and we're the pawns." He flipped open a hard drive and played back the thermal footage from the Geneva raid. "Watch this," he said, frame by frame. He paused where the Specter appeared, hand extended not toward the Rembrandt, but toward something else in the armored case. Something below the painting. Vega squinted. "What is that?" Kane enhanced the image. "It looks like parchment." He nodded. "Exactly. I cross-referenced Gardner Museum inventories. Nothing was listed under that case besides the painting. But if Specter took more than art, if he took documents, that changes everything. You think it's a clue? I think it's a map. Miles away, in the darkness of an ancient stone chapel in Lyon, Specter unrolled the aged vellum scroll on a candlelit table. Ink faded but legible, a cipher overlay of art locations spanning 2 continents. Red markings indicated missing works, crossed out with care. At the bottom, one word: Hecatome. He tapped the symbol next to it. An abstract sun. That was the target, the final piece. The reason Gardner had been hit. Not for the Rembrandt, not for the Vermeer, but for this. Specter closed his eyes. He would need help, and there was only one person left who could decrypt it in time. An old forger. A man he once swore never to see again. But war had no room for old promises.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 8. The Forger's Truth. The Alpine air was razor-thin in the mountain town of Salanf, Switzerland. Snow clung to the edges of every roof tile, and the streets were silent except for the distant toll of a chapel bell that rang once every hour. Specter approached the crooked stone house at the edge of the ridge. It was older than any document he'd ever recovered, patched with mismatched stone, soot-stained from winters past, and buried beneath a thick coat of alpine frost. He knocked once. A pause. Then, slow mechanical grinding as 4 steel locks disengaged. The door creaked open. A wiry old man with a magnifying visor and nicotine-stained fingers stared out from behind the gap. "God must be drunk if he sent you here," the man said in French-accented English. Specter stepped inside. "Hello, Etienne." Etienne Duroc, the most brilliant art forger Europe had ever produced. He'd once duplicated a Caravaggio so precisely it took a neutron scan to expose it as fake. His last known client had been Interpol, and before that, Saddam Hussein. He hadn't been seen in over a decade. Etienne shuffled into the main room, littered with stretched canvas, X-ray lamps, and bottles of turpentine. "Let me guess," he said. "You found something real, and now you're scared it's bigger than both of us." Specter said nothing. He unrolled the vellum scroll across Etienne's cluttered drafting table. The old man's eyes flicked over it, magnifying lens snapping into place. "Mon Dieu," he whispered. "Do you know what this is?" Specter remained still. "Enlighten me." Etienne sat down slowly. "This is a derivative of the Arithmetica Codex, the kind of Medici used to catalog stolen knowledge during the Black Death. But this is post-Renaissance, post-Inquisition. You see this?" He pointed to the symbol of the abstract sun.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Specter nodded. "What is it?" "A sigil. Old Greek. It means purification through sacrifice. In other words, a hecatome. He stood up and pulled a heavy tome from a shelf. Dust bloomed. The hecatome wasn't just a mass offering of cattle. It evolved. In the secret societies of 16th century Florence, it became a metaphor, not for sacrifice of beasts, but of truth. They would destroy knowledge to keep power contained, burn libraries, murder historians, hide proof of alternate religious histories. Specter leaned closer. So the Gardner heist wasn't about money. It was about suppressing history. Etienne nodded. Some of the works taken weren't just valuable, they were dangerous. They contained allegorical references to suppressed heresies and lost scriptures. One of the stolen to gas sketches, for instance, features not ballerinas, but a cipher in the positioning of their feet. It matches this code. He tapped the scroll. Specter's mind raced. Where does it lead? Etienne stared at him, eyes suddenly sharp. You really want to know? Yes. Etienne slowly turned to a globe, spun it. His finger landed on a point in northern Syria. Al-Raqqa, beneath the ruins of an old Byzantine monastery. If the scroll is right, the final piece is there. Specter stiffened. That wasn't just enemy territory. That was broker territory. Meanwhile, in Boston, Kane stared at the encrypted map Vega had decrypted from the Gardner hard drive. A duplicate of the scroll. The data was incomplete, but one location had been cleanly marked. Syria. Specter's already moving, Kane said. Vega shook her head. You're not authorized for an international op. He looked at her with fire in his eyes. They try to kill me. I'm past caring. She hesitated. I'm coming with you. Kane raised an eyebrow. You sure? If this is real, she said, we're not chasing paintings anymore. We're chasing something that could rewrite history. He nodded. Then we fly at dawn.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 9. Into the Ashes. The Black Hawk helicopter cut low through the dust-thick sky of northern Syria, skimming just above a dried riverbed. Below, crumbled stone and scorched earth stretched endlessly across the ancient terrain. This was Raqqa, but not the version seen in news reports. This was older, deeper, history buried under war, and something far more deliberate. Inside the chopper, Marcus Kane strapped in tightly beside Vega, their faces lit by the dull red glow of the console. Both wore lightweight tactical gear, marked contractor to keep appearances thin. Officially, they weren't here. No passports, no country, no backup. Across from them, their local contact adjusted his headset. Yusuf, a former archaeologist turned fixer. He'd once smuggled cuneiform tablets out of an ISIS stronghold with nothing but a shovel and a bribe. Half the ruins are mined, Yusuf shouted over the blades. But you're lucky, the monastery you want? Mostly untouched. No treasure hunters go near it. Why not? Vega asked. They say it's cursed, Yusuf replied, deadpan. People go in, they don't come out. Strange symbols. Sounds at night. Very cinematic. Kane smirked. Great. Just what I needed. The monastery was a husk of what it once had been. Shattered stone arches rising like broken fingers against the sky. Wind howled through the structure, rattling loose tiles and whipping the sand into tiny cyclones. Specter was already there, hidden behind a sandstone outcrop, cloaked in neutral tones. He watched as the helicopter descended and the two agents disembarked. Kane and the woman. He hadn't expected them this soon, but it wasn't a surprise. Kane had grit, an instinct, the kind of man who didn't follow the rules when the rules stopped making sense. Specter adjusted his optics. If they were here, the broker wouldn't be far behind. Time was running out. Inside the monastery crypts, Kane's boots echoed against carved stone steps. Vega trailed behind, flashlight in one hand, weapon in the other. Symbols lined the walls, burnt black into the limestone, some fresh, others ancient. Shapes repeated. The sun's sigil, spirals of 13 concentric rings, Greek script paired with what looked eerily like Hebrew warnings. Vega whispered, "This doesn't feel like a place that just stored religious texts." "No," Kane agreed. "It feels like a vault." At the base of the staircase, a steel-reinforced door stood unnaturally intact among the ruins. It bore no keyhole, only a groove shaped like a knight chess piece.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Kane stared. His heart dropped. "A lock," he said. "A symbolic one," Vega murmured. "Like a signature." She reached into her satchel and pulled out the 3D printout Kane had made of the Specter's arm insignia. "The knight. It's not just a logo," she said. "It's the key." They pressed the piece into the groove. The door clicked, and slowly, with a groan like the dead waking, it opened. Inside, a chamber the size of a cathedral, filled with racks of scrolls, painted panels, and steel crates sealed with wax emblems older than the Crusades. But the center held the true prize. A single pedestal. Upon it, a golden reliquary shaped like a sunburst, with a painting encased inside. Christ at the temple, 16th century oil, long thought destroyed in a fire in Florence in 1602. But this wasn't a replica. It was real, and inside the painting, just visible, was another layer beneath the brushwork. A map. Suddenly, footsteps. Rapid. Boots on stone. Kane and Vega turned, weapons raised. Too late. Smoke grenades detonated, filling the vault with white blindness. Through the haze, a figure emerged, slender, agile, scar beneath her jaw. The broker's assassin. She moved like lightning, knocking Vega aside and striking Kane with the butt of her weapon. He staggered. She seized the reliquary, retreating toward the exit, but then a single shot rang out. She dropped. Specter stepped from the shadows, weapons still raised, smoke curling from the barrel. He looked at Kane. "We don't have time," he said. "Broker's coming. And this," he picked up the reliquary, "is the last thing he needs to rewrite everything." Kane didn't lower his gun. "You're going to explain?" Specter didn't flinch. "I will. But if we stay, we all die." Behind them, a distant rumble. The echo of trucks. Men shouting in Arabic. Armed, approaching. Specter turned to run. "You want truth, Agent Kane?" He looked back. "Then follow me."
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 10. The Truth Broker. The convoy arrived moments after they vanished. 3 black SUVs rolled up to the monastery ruins, kicking up dust that smeared into the last traces of Specter's footprints. Armed men in tactical gear spread out with practiced speed, rifles drawn, eyes scanning the area. Their formation wasn't military, at least not official. These were mercenaries, private, efficient, lethal. From a lead vehicle stepped a man in a bespoke gray suit, completely unbothered by the wind or the chaos. His shoes crunched over bones and ash without hesitation. His silver hair was slicked back, and a golden pin shaped like a crucifix glinted on his lapel. The broker. He surveyed the open vault, narrowed his eyes at the open reliquary pedestal, then stepped into the darkness without a word. A mercenary approached. They were here, just minutes ago. He nodded, kneeling beside a scorch mark from Specter's smoke grenade. His fingers traced the ground. "Still warm. I want them found," the broker said calmly. "The American, the woman, and the thief." His voice was a whisper, but it carried weight. "I want the reliquary returned. And when you find Specter, he stood slowly. Don't kill him. A pause. Yet, half a world away, deep in the catacombs beneath Palermo, Italy, Specter led Kane and Vega through a labyrinth of ancient tunnels. Moss-covered bones lined the alcoves, their sockets watching silently as the trio descended into the dark. "This is your safe house," Vega whispered. Specter didn't look back. It used to be a monastery for those who practiced forbidden scripture. They died keeping secrets. Now, we use their silence.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Kane glanced around uneasily. "Who's we?" Specter paused. Then, for the first time since they'd met, he removed his mask. Underneath, a weathered face, mid-40s, a scar bisecting one brow, deep-set eyes that had seen too much. "My name is Elias Vero," he said. "I used to work for a group called Kaisa. We were archivists, recovery experts. Our job was to retrieve cultural artifacts before they could be weaponized by regimes, by cartels, by power brokers like the man chasing us now." "The broker," Kane said flatly. Specter, Elias nodded. "His real name is Adrian Vargo. He was one of us." Vega's eyes widened. "He was part of Kaisa before he went rogue." Vargo believed knowledge should be owned, not preserved. He started stealing what we protected and selling it to the highest bidder. Kane paced slowly. "So he created the black market we've been chasing. And now," Elias continued, "he wants to rewrite the balance of history." He placed the reliquary on a stone table and cracked it open. Beneath the painting, thin layers of vellum were hidden, brittle, ancient, inscribed in overlapping languages: Latin, Aramaic, Greek. "It's not just a map," Elias said. "It's a manifesto, a record of alternate origins, religious, cultural, historical. Enough to fracture world powers if revealed." Kane shook his head. "You're telling me this heist, this whole thing started 30 years ago because someone wanted to steal the truth?" "No," Elias said. "They wanted to control it." A silence settled between them. Then Vega spoke. "How do we stop him?" Elias's eyes darkened. "We don't just stop him. We expose him. We leak the manifesto. All of it. Carefully. In pieces. Through institutions, scholars, trusted notes. But that means staying ahead of him." He unrolled another scroll, coordinates. A second vault. This one buried beneath Lisbon. It's where the last cipher is hidden. If he gets it before we do, he'll have everything he needs to authenticate the manifesto, turn it into power, control history, faith, even geopolitics. Kane looked at the map, then at Elias. "Then what are we waiting for?" Elias smiled grimly. "War."
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
Chapter 11. The Vault of Lisbon. The sea air was sharp with salt as the waves slammed against the jagged cliffs beneath the Lisbon coast. Hidden beneath the ruins of an old Jesuit fortress, the final vault waited. Untouched for over 400 years, locked by the kind of secrecy only wars and religion could breed. Kane, Vega, and Elias descended through a narrow stone shaft lit only by handheld lanterns. The passage curved in on itself like the throat of a leviathan, covered in cryptic symbols. Some were religious, others not. Spirals, stars, and broken crosses overlapped like an apocalyptic mural. "This is it," Elias whispered. "The last cipher." At the base, they came upon a chamber sealed with a massive bronze door. There was no handle, only a riddle inscribed in 6 languages. Kane read aloud. "To those who seek truth, give not gold nor sword, but silence." He looked at Elias. "What the hell does that mean?" Elias placed his hand over the inscription and closed his eyes. It's from the Dead Sea Scrolls. Only the silent may enter. He stepped back, then, without a word, drew a small blade and sliced his palm, pressing the blood against the bronze. The door trembled. Then, with a low groan, it opened inward. Inside, the chamber glowed with golden light. Scrolls, maps, relics, and letters lay preserved in glass casings. Symbols none of them had ever seen before lined the walls. At the center was a pedestal. Upon it, a single black book bound in human skin, marked with the sigil of the sun. Elias whispered the Hecatome Codex. But before they could move, an explosion rocked the tunnel. Dust and flames surged through the shaft. Gunfire followed. The broker had arrived. They ducked behind columns as mercenaries stormed the vault, muzzle flashes lighting up the ancient chamber. Vega fired back with surgical precision, taking down 2 men. Kane dropped another with a clean shot to the chest. But the broker himself walked calmly through the chaos.
If you love heist stories, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the jaw-dropping heist story from this channel.
He raised a hand, and the firing stopped. "I don't want the painting," he said, voice calm. "I don't want the relics. I want the codex." Kane stepped out slowly, gun still raised. "You really think owning a rewrite of history will make you God?" The broker smiled thinly. "Not God, Agent Kane. Just necessary." He turned to Elias. "You never understood, Elias. Truth is not sacred. Truth is currency. You can't protect it. You must spend it wisely." Elias looked at him with fury. "You killed our entire order." "I freed them," the broker replied. Elias lifted the codex and, without hesitation, hurled it into the flames of a shattered lantern. "No!" the broker screamed. The codex burned instantly, centuries of secrets curling into smoke, the truth rising into nothing. The broker rushed forward in rage, but Vega was faster. One shot, between the eyes, he fell. Later, the ruins were silent again. The fire had died. The vault was sealed. Kane sat beside the cliffs, the sunrise bleeding over the Atlantic. Vega stood beside him, quiet. Elias remained in the shadows of the rocks. Mask returned, watching the horizon. "It's gone," Vega said. "The codex. All of it." Kane nodded slowly. "Maybe that's a good thing." Elias spoke softly. "The world isn't ready for that kind of truth. Maybe it never will be." He stepped away, vanishing into the dawn. Kane turned to Vega. "What now?" She smiled faintly. "We write the report, then we lose it in a drawer. And maybe someday, someone else digs it back up." Kane chuckled. "And Specter?" Vega shrugged. "He's not our ghost to chase anymore." They stood together in silence, the waves crashing below, the truth buried once more in the ashes of history. But far away, in a vault Elias never knew existed, a backup copy of the codex blinked to life. Encrypted, hidden, waiting.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this crime story. If you've got a theory, memory, or a favorite part of this heist, drop it in the comments. We read every single one. If you're into real crime and strange heists, and the kinds of stories they never tell you about in school, make sure to subscribe and tap the notification bell, because we got a vault full of jaw-dropping stories coming your way. Check out more stories like this.